Dr. Bati Bey.
Islam.
Islam, grandman. How you be?
All right, Islam assistant chairman. How you feeling?
Oh man, I'm just as smart as ever, man. I got on up this grand manifest and had to finish up some admin, but I hit the sauna for a minute before I got to get ready to get up out of here and get on the road. And I got to knock out these provisions to support myself, the council, and our government. And just honest to you for aiding and assisting me, hosting today's Egyptian Adeptus research team.
No, I do what I can do when I can do
it. We got to make sure we put that in our anthem, our Moorish American anthem, right there.
Man, me and this brother named Calfani Davis Ill, we wrote a Moorish American anthem.
Man, hold on to it, Mo. Hold on to it. Matter of fact, we'll start looking at it, for real.
Oh, it's in the archives. It's in the archives.
Praise Allah. Yes, indeed. Well, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and I see we have we got
both of them.
Yeah. Islam got us a queen.
Islam got it.
Islam, welcome to you all. National Grand Secretary of State and our chairman. Welcome.
Islam. Glad to have you. Islam.
Yeah, for y'all to be here. Islam.
All right, so Dr. Bati, I'm about to make you the host, and then I'm and yep.
Brother, you're not headed up in that D.C., Maryland area, are you?
No, sir. I'm headed to Texas, and
all righty.
Yes, sir. Headed to Texas, then from Texas back to the Georgia territory, and then I'm sticking around in Texas and Tennessee, National Grand Chairman. So just being aware.
They just got some serious truck driver stuff going on over there.
No, let me check it out. Gratitude.
I know sometimes you be on the road so much you miss a lot of that stuff. So that's all.
Gratitude, Chairman. Gratitude. Thank you. Yes, indeed.
No, yeah, we start 6 out.
Islam. All right, Dr. Bati Bey, you see that you're the host, right?
Islam.
And I'm gonna make sure. Let me check so do the go to the security and just make it where that Dr. Shaheed can, everybody can just pretty much share their screen.
I don't know how to do that anymore.
Okay, well, I'm gonna do this right here. Let me go ahead and be an Indian giver right quick. Hold on.
No, the Indians didn't give and take back. It was the Europeans. We know that to be fact. They ain't gave it back yet.
Islam, Mars Bay checking in. Apalachicola, Florida territory. Praise be to Allah, honor the noble Drew Ali family. Islam. Peace and love, family.
Hey, peace and love, grandman. Glad to have you. Okay, Bati Bey, so all is good. And here you go.
All right.
Everybody able to share. Islam.
Islam.
All right, we can open up.
Islam. First, I like to rise and give all manner of praise to Allah. Honors to the Prophet, honors to our theocratic government, honors to our royal council, our flag, our seal, our emblem, our divine constitution, strangers, muftis, citizens alike, honors to all Moors here and there. And I am Dr. Bati Bey with the Iowa Territory, aiding and assisting our brother Torre. In this class, I will now read the Kemetic Adept prayer. Say, Ya Allah abnu haru makuneteru, Ya Allah abhet heru, Ya Allah ma'at heru, Ya Allah haru. Peace. Pardon me, I'm start from the top. Ya Allah abnu haru makuneteru, Ya Allah abhet heru, Ya Allah ma'at heru, Ya Allah hotep heru, Ya Allah haru, Ya Allah ma'at heru kuti, Ya Allah awajejajuti, Ya Allah pertim sutek pertim haru, Ya Allah bamaduti, al-hedi sepsis rei abtu ali, Ameen. Alisa. And that is to say, O Allah, the Father of the universe, O Allah, the Father of love, O Allah, the Spirit of truth, O Allah, the Spirit of peace, O Allah, the Spirit of freedom, O Allah, the spirit of justice. O Allah, you are my protector. O Allah, you are my God. O Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day. O Allah, through your holy prophet. O Allah, Drew Ali. Amen. Holy Isa, Holy Isa, Holy Isa. And with that, I will read the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. Salvation, our God, unity. The divine constitution of Moorish America. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of Moorish America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The bylaws, Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of this said government, and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim the nationality. We are teaching our people the nationality and the divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names given to slave by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name and be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. And with that, I will go into reading the chapter of the week. Islam.
Islam, Dr. Bati Bey.
Islam.
Islam, gratitude, grand. Just when you open it up, just say none of this meeting has been open according to Act 2 with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And we say Islamism. Gratitude. Keep going, grand man.
Islam. Gratitude. One second, boys. I'm waiting on this stuff. Bear with me 1 second. I am. Islam. Chapter 29. Yehoshua passes the third brotherhood test.
Negative. Nay. Chapter 12.
Why am I? Chapter 12. Islam.
Yes, sir.
Gratitude. Sample ways. Islam. Chapter 12. Yehoshua reveals to the people of their sinful ways. In all the cities of Orissa, Yehoshua taught at HEKAPTAH by the riverside. He taught and thousands of the people followed him. One day, a car of Juggernaut was hauled along by scores of frenzied men. And Yehoshua said, behold, a form without a spirit passes by, a body with no soul, a temple with no altar fires. This car of Krishna is an empty thing, for Krishna is not there. This car is but an idol of a people drunk on the wine of carnal things. Allah lives not in the noise of tongues. There is no way to him from an idol shrine. Allah's meeting place with man is in the heart, and in a still small voice he speaks, and he who hears is still. And all the people said, teach us to know the Holy One who speaks within the heart. Allah of the still small voice. And Yehoshua said, the Holy Breath cannot be seen with mortal eyes, nor can men see the spirit of the Holy One. But in their image man was made, and he who looks into the face of man looks at the image of Allah who speaks within. And when man honors man, he honors Allah. And what man does for man, he does for Allah. And you must bear in mind that when man harms in thought, word, or deed another man, he does a wrong to Allah. If you would serve Allah, who speaks within the heart, just serve your near of kin, and those who are no kin, the stranger at your gates, the foe who seeks to do you harm. Assist the poor and help the weak. Do harm to none, and covet not what is not yours. Then with your tongue, the Holy One will speak, and he will smile behind your tears, will light your countenance with joy, and fill your hearts with peace. And then the people ask, to whom shall we bring gifts? Where shall we offer sacrifice? And Yehoshua said, our Father, Allah, ask not for needless waste of plant, grain, or dove, or of lamb. That which you burn on any shrine you throw away. No blessing can attend to one who takes the food from the hungry mouths to be destroyed by fire. When you would offer sacrifice unto Allah, just take your gift of grain, meat, and lay it on the table of the poor. From it, an incense will arise to heaven, which will return to you with blessedness. Tear down your idols. They can hear you not. Turn all your sacrificial altars into fuel for flames. Make human hearts your altar and burn your sacrifice with the fire of love. And all the people were entranced and would have Yehoshua as God. But Yehoshua said, I am your brother man, just come to show you the way to Allah. You shall not worship man. Praise Allah, the Holy One. Islam, Islam, Islam. And now this means open, I will turn this over to Swift Angel number 4, our acting assistant Grand Sheik and the moderator for this meeting. Islam. No, there's not. Make host. There's not. Islam, acting assistant Grand Sheik.
Can you hear me, Grand Man?
Yes, I can. Islam means yours.
Islamism. Well, let us rise upon the seventh and give all praises to the great God Allah, our Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet. Honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere. And therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything. And I do mean everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. Islam, Moorish kin. I want to welcome you once again to another Egyptian Adeptus Research session. Oh man, we can't wait to hear from our Moorish kin on this special drawing, because we know our Moorish family most definitely have their homework, on the manifest, or rather their research on the manifest. You know, so we look forward to getting the grand drawing, as we had actually sent out certain measures to aid our family and whatever it is that they had to bring forth as we move forth in this special area. And we know we're going to have some grand findings brought on the manifest. What I want to do, so that our family can see exactly where we are along the way, I want to share my screen real quick here. Right, make sure that's open there. Okay, well, I guess it's going, yeah, we'll try it this way. All right, can you see that, Morris, Ken?
Islam.
Islam. All right. And hold up, before we move forward, who is 803-452-5384? I just want to get a confirmation on that.
Dr. Leo Larry Bay, Vice Consul General, South Carolina Consulate.
Okay, Islam, grand man, gratitude. All right, so let me close this up, get it out y'all way. Islam, our Moorish kin should have seen this particular email here that was sent out. And as you can see, you know, our instructions had to do with, you know, it has a copy of a PDF in here for the session that we had placed out here. We had video, you know, also we sent out the actual session that we demonstrated, and the research was concerning ancient Kemetic origins of the so-called Greek language. You know, in other words, we say so-called because we know what they've been calling Greek. We don't accept it as that, man. They got some videos out here now where Europeans saying it wasn't no such thing as Roman and all this other stuff. The same thing we saying, and it's an outcry going on behind this special demonstration. You know, because when you talk about Rome, you're really talking about those who claim to be so-called Greeks as well. But anyway, the research is concerning the ancient Kemetic origins of the so-called Greek language as it relates to the HEKAPTAH script, aka Old Nubian, demonstrating how they come from one common Kemetic mother tongue. You know, this was our drawing, and we don't care to get into, you know, the Gregorian calendars and the way that they try to place things out here, because we know a lot of that stuff that they got out there is way off, Moorish kin. They got 3, 4, 5 different versions of a time calendar. So, I mean, somebody got to make their mind up. But we know all of them can't be right. So, gratitude. We also have a measure we sent out here on the Coptic language and PDF. We're working with what has been placed out here for our Moorish kin to get some background. And we'll go into these things as we move along. So what I want to do without further ado and delay, because we don't want to hold nobody up, we want to open up the floor and see what our Moorish kin have brought for Islamism. And we can't wait for these divine treasures and measures. So is there any more that would like to come forth first? And you know we're going to get the drafted if we don't. Nah, I'm just messing with you. Islam. All right.
Islam.
Islam, brother Bati Bey.
Is the goddess line open? Does she wanna go first?
Who, talking about our Grand National Secretary of State?
Yes, Islam.
Oh, well, if maybe she do, maybe she don't at this time, but I know she got a measure for us, whatever the case may be. So, Sister Grand National Secretary of the State, are you wanting to come forth now? Or do you want to withhold a measure and come forth after you hear the Moors come forth?
I don't think that was my line open, but I can go after Dr. Bati Bey.
Islam.
Hey, you ain't shuffling over there, is you, Bati Bey?
Me, no, by no means. No, I was just making sure I didn't cut.
No, you all right, brother. Islam.
First, I'd like to rise and give all manner of praise to Allah, honors to the Prophet, honors to our theocratic government, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution,
Uh-oh, we done
So
lost your
angels,
audio.
also of angels, I'm of teas, citizens like, praise and honors already previously. Let me see if I get this thing off this. And basically, when I was going into those slides that you had sent, and I also did some research of my own on this, because I also feel like there, you know, and though that was a whole bunch of information too to absorb, it also led me to something that I kind of posted earlier in the week, and it was talking about, it was Anthony Broder, and he does a lot of history that has to do with us. And this is why I know there was never what you're saying when there's that there was no Greek, there was no such thing as the far as the language demonstration. When you look at the Old Testament does not even mention Rome in there. So that's a span, that if we're looking at that, that's a span of time. They say over 1,500 years where it doesn't mention that body of people in it. So therefore, the language has to be rooted from somebody of an earlier people. That's also, they said that that span of time was also covers 2000 BC and to 400 BC. Also, when you're looking at a timeline that I want to end up purchasing, that Anthony Broder he had put out on this measure, was that in 1832 BC is when Homer wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey. So that was the first book that that was the first European book that was ever written. That starts their history. So you're talking about Homer when he wrote that book, and it was written in what they like to call Homeric Greek. There's no such thing as Homeric Greek. If you look at the text and the alphabet, the what we call the abjad here, it shows that it's the same thing as the Coptic, which it goes back into the Kemetic language. And so it says Romulus and Remus founded Rome in 753 BC, which was the start of the Greco-Roman culture. So therefore, when you're looking at it from a timeline aspect, there was Greek, all their languages and all the opportunities that they had in even creating their history had to come from earlier people who had already put their language down. And we know that to be the Kemetic form. And then when you look at the Coptic is more so what the Greek has stolen. And that was when they migrated towards those eastern lands, peninsulas, and so forth. It had nothing to do with them being the originators, but a lot of their historians will show that they used the Greek because they couldn't fully interpret the what they call the hieroglyphs or the Egyptian or Aramaic languages. They tried to say Hebrew again, but they couldn't really decipher it. So they said that the Greek was the earliest just because they could understand it, not because it was. So there was no founded purpose behind them saying that statement, but it was just something that they liked. And so that was my. Then when I was also looking up the language, it says it was some type of Ionic and Aeolic and Acria. I can't even. I'm not going to even attempt to slaughter that word, but it's like Acreodoca period, something like that. That it was talking about the phonetical markers and the lexicon of the language. They said the lexicon of the language was Kemet. So if the lexicon of the language is Kemet, that means the words, their phrases, their interpretation was of the Kemetic background and the Kemetic stock. So therefore, we know it to be Kemetic. And with that, I'll leave as I come in peace.
Gratitude for that measure, brother. Powerful drawing. And it's good you put that even that particular timeline you speaking on Romulus and Remus when you spoke on 753 BC, you know, Rome being founded during that time. You know, if you look at that in and of itself, we know that the Coptic language, you know, has been on the manifest far more longer than that. You know what I mean? And like you said, you can go all the way back to 2000 BC, so to speak, you know, with one particular measure as you was drawing. We give honors to you for that. And the drawing in relation to that is that being that the language was already there, and you go into 753 BC and you look at some of the pictures, if you reflect in the video that I showed you of the people, most of them was in 500 BC, you know, prior to, you know, as well, when you come a little further, still, when you get into the essence of it, 500, let's say 400, or even 100, you know, even in the AD, you can see these people look exactly like our people and not the Romanized, you know, demonstration that you would see in these people. So this is key. So again, when they are calling people Greeks, we know we're talking about the Etruscan, we're talking about the Kiftihu, and that it was these whom actually were the indigenous inhabitants from which they, later on, Europeans beginning to come up into the culture, called themselves Greek and make it a civilization. And one of the things I always like to harp on is what our brother G.M. James stated. You know, how can you call something even a Greek philosophy, you know, a Greek civilization, when these very things were the reasons that they began to persecute and kill people like Plato and Aristotle? So why would they call a name of philosophy after themselves, you know, those people, you know, and then call it themselves in their civilization? It don't make sense. That's like us as Moorish American Muslims, you know, just say the European, we dealing with Moorish science, and they say, all right, we're going to take these ones off the count for bringing that Moorish science on the manifest, but then they call themselves a Moorish science civilization, you know, a Moorish science nation. It don't make sense, do it? You know, because they're against Moorish science. So why would the European call themselves a Moorish nation? You see, and so that's basically what was poured over on our people. And I love the fact that Jim James put it in that particular context, because it make it plain. You know, how can something be called Greek philosophy when this is what they kill these people for? Why would they be praising that name? You know, and so that's powerful. But yeah, as far as the alphabets and the language and all of that goes, it just don't exist in the form that they try to produce it in. So we see what we call HEKAPTAH. You know, I share my screen here too, coming from one of the documents, just so if our Moorish kin didn't get a chance to go into it, because we saw a few measures here. And I want to just go back here, for example, because they actually get a definition, you know, in this particular measure dealing with the Coptic language in and of it. Even though most people that tell the story of the Coptic always end up accrediting it to the European, you know, we know better. We know the Coptic was there first. And they'll tell you in most cases why they're trying to give credit to the Coptic. The Coptic as Greek, why they trying to make it seem to be Greek. At the same time, they'll tell you, well, you know, the Coptic was the last stage of the Egyptian language. So if it was the last stage of the Egyptian language before the Egyptian Arabic came in, how in the world are you putting Greek in there? Because it never teaches in any of the teachings that the Greek language is the last stage of the Egyptian language. So if that alphabet that's known as HEKAPTAH, the Coptic, is the same alphabet that they are using and calling Greek later on, just taking away a few letters, so to speak, you know, if that language, Greek, didn't come in the line of that succession, then how is there being a substitute all of a sudden when you say Greek language? That should raise a red flag. Think about it now. Go and look it up. Any source that go to talk about the Kemetic language, they say, well, the Coptic was the last stage, and then, you know, because they say the Coptic came behind the Demotic, right? You know, we're going to get into the original names, like I said before, what these things were called. And we actually uncovering one name now when we say HEKAPTAH. So the HEKAPTAH, if it comes directly from the Kemetic, how does it evolve, you know, into Greek and still call it Kemetic as far as the Greek that they try to point out? You know what I mean? No, it don't work that way. If anything, you know, it should have been called an Etruscan or something like that. You see what I'm saying? So these are grand drawings, family. If we are able to, I don't know, that thing closed up there. Okay, these are grand drawings here that we have to really look at, and there has to be some emphasis placed there.
Islam, can I say something real quick?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, brother.
Even when you brought up the HEKAPTAH, they were saying that Egypt and HEKAPTAH was basically the same thing.
It's the same thing.
When
Exactly.
you in that information that you put out there. So if it's saying it's the same thing, there's no way that they can hijack a language, you know what I'm saying, and just say it's theirs just because they put their Roman seal on it or whatever, So
exactly. You know, and that's what we're getting at. Now they showed how the English was evolved in here too, you know, from the ancient Kemetic language. You know, they trying to connect that back to it, which we know the ABCD, you know, come through the ABGD way down the line, so to speak. They were trying to keep up with the abject order. That's because they based their Latin alphabet, which that belonged to them, so to speak. They based that off of, you know, what they call their so-called Greek and so forth and so on. So, you know, it tell you though, right, in this particular document, you know, even when it come down to the creation of the writing of what they call hieroglyphic, and they trying to produce it in that aspect, they're saying that this was adapted to the Canaanite language, but we are saying that this was produced, or this pictorial script that they're trying to come up with was actually produced in Canaan. It wasn't produced in Kemet, the way that they try to put it out there. And so this is the one that E. Wallace Budge and all these other Europeans use, you know, and assume that hieroglyphics would be taught that way. And then later on down the line, they came up with this Ptolemaicism, this Egyptolomaicism. And so they came up with the Ptolemaic hieroglyphic form of deciphering or writing, as they call it, through Champollion, you see, in which we know that came into existence only during the time of the Rosetta Stone, which wasn't in the ancient times. So how can you take a Rosetta Stone and transliterate a message that existed way before that time, if that's what it is? You see what I'm saying? You can't do it, because they just came on the manifest with something that they had created during their time. Their particular assumption as to how the hieroglyphic writings, you know, inscription, so to speak, come into a translation of a writing in their mind. So anyway, it goes into many different aspects, and it even tell you here, you know, when it was talking about the Ugaritic, the Sumerian, the Babylonian cuneiform, then it spoke of, you know, the alphabet along the line. It's merely a modified form of Canaanite Egyptian alphabetic script. When they say Canaanite Egyptian alphabet, they talking about Proto-Sinaitic, Proto-Canaanite. You see the Moabite script, Paleo-Hebrew, some call it that too. But they also call Paleo-Hebrew the same language that I spoke of as being that universal language that went across all tribes, so to speak, with the Phoenician, that same language that looked like the Iberic, so to speak. They call that Koine Greek, you know, but in all actuality, that's known as Egyptian. It's known as Phoenician. So all it is that I would say the more ancient the culture is, if that language was present during that time where they was calling that same language or those symbols by the name of Kemet, we know Kemet was before Greece. So why would you call that language Greece when you can see it was way back during the time of Kemet? No, it would just be Kemetic or Egyptian or HEKAPTAH, as we say, right? And so that's in support of what our brother said. So here again, which we went over this last week, but we can touch it briefly. It says the development of the Coptic alphabet, the origin of the word Coptic, the words Copt, a Coptic, it says, well as the word Egypt or Egyptian have the same origin. See, that remove all doubt right there. And that is the old Egyptian words describing Egypt as HEKAPTAH, meaning the house of the spirit of Ptah. We know that the house of the spirit of Ptah in the form of temples existed longer than any European concept, are Greek temples that they come up with later during the Ptolemaic dynasties, that 33rd dynasty, right? It say E means house and Ka means spirit, and Ta is one of the famous gods of old Egypt. Therefore, the words Coptic and Egyptian are linguistically one in the same word. So if the Egyptian, being referred to as the house of Ka, the HEKAPTAH, was on the manifest, and then you go to trying to say, well, the Greek language gave birth to the Coptic, that don't make no sense. So man, it's just a whole bunch of measures that we had in here, but you can just look at the language. And so when we say HEKAPTAH, it's also safe to put the label Old Nubian on it as well, because we know the Old Nubian is right there in line with the alphabet, with the exception of the European coming along later, trying to shuffle things around and give their own portion, to superimpose themselves into the history. But ask yourself this question: why every time you see a so-called Greek text, it's always a Coptic text that was on the manifest, and they mostly going on the Coptic text as being the oldest text? So like the book of Enoch that I got over here is Coptic and Greek side by side. Man, these people know what they're doing. They need to stop. So at this time, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let our Moorish king come forth. Anybody else that would like to give their drawing, I'm just giving my support in the midst. Islam.
Islam.
Islam, brother Mubasa Bey.
Islam. Divine Minister Mubasa Bey, Oklahoma Consulate. Let me rise in perfect praise. Give all praise, honor, and glory to our Father God Allah, our illustrious Prophet Al-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. I give honors to Act 1, our flag, ensigns, emblems, swift angels, mufti core, and everything that is Moorish. And also honors to our Egyptian Adeptus research class. I'm gonna be real short, because as I understand it, and this is just me painting a picture of listening and then going in and reading certain things. To sum it up, I said, like, my portion of the understanding of it is that with the Greek language itself, that's like, it's like a derivative. It's almost like a derivative of the Coptic, and the Coptic being, coming out of the Demotic, which goes back to the transliteration of the hieroglyphs. This is what the Greek language pretty much proceeded from. So I had wrote down, well, like, what is HEKAPTAH? What is it, the HEKAPTAH? And I put down this is a script used to write the Coptic language, which comes out of the Egyptian Demotic. The first 25 being of the first 25 being of Greek, and then the last 7 being derived from the Demotic. So that's why, because I was having a hard time understanding how the Greek was pretty much the HEKAPTAH until I read that article that you had sent out, and then it finally congealed, made sense. And then I put when was the Coptic or the HEKAPTAH created? Now I understand that with the Coptic being coming out of the Demotic or the Abjad, right? It said it was. I was reading one article where it was saying that it was 300 years, but that can't be true. So I was thinking that around 300 BC, that's the time where it began to be used versus it being created at that time. I was trying to turn my video on, but for some reason my computer ain't linking with the app. But so it wasn't that they created it during that time. That I seen that was a portion of time that they were used as they began to put down their political control in Kemetic. That was a portion that they had used to change to do the administrative process, to actually begin to usurp our Kemetic ancestors, to take over. And I went off into the Demotic, And what I had seen with that was I seen that that was a more form of writing that was more related to the actual symbols, because you know in the comparisons that we had did, I seen how the Demotic was more I say similar to the actual symbols versus the HEKAPTAH or the Greek, it being like, you know, pretty much turned a certain way, or you know, pretty much just changed. And I also seen that it was, you know, a form of the hieratic that was used in the Nile Delta, as well as it was a script that followed pretty much late Egyptian or late Kemetian writing. And then I seen that Herodias was the first to use the term hieratic, and he, you know, and he spoke about that, you know, to distinguish the Demotic or the hieratic from the hieroglyphs. And I looked to see, you know, when was this I put when was this created, and I would say going back to the HEKAPTAH, this had to be at least 700, 800 years before the HEKAPTAH had even begun, or the Coptic to even begin to be used, because it made sense to me. Well, I say 1500 years, because if the HEKAPTAH and the Coptic was a derivative of the Demotic, then that means, you know, that the Demotic is older. You know, it's pretty much self-explanatory. And you know, those are some of the things, you know, I was running across, because I was, you know, trying to understand it to where, you know, it'll make sense to where, you know, you're able to share it, versus, you know, going through each step, because you know, with our people's time I said what do you call it, attention span with time, you know, it can kind of, you know, get thrown off. So I was just trying to, you know, understand it for myself, to break it down in that timeline. That way, you know, whenever you going forth and you sharing it, you know, you can, you know, better precisely express it in a timeline form to where it make sense. And it also coincides with history. So, you know, that's my measure that I have to bring. Peace and love, family.
Islam, we give honor to you for that drawing. And that's a good point. You know, one thing we done fail, well, we ain't gonna say we actually realize. One thing we realize now is our history will never coincide with the Roman history, you know, in any way. And we give honors to you for, as you said, you went to the 300 BC demonstration, you know, and it's showing you basically that's during the time when the Ptolemaic dynasty came in. Like I say, 330 BC and all of that right there. That's when they end up taking their root, like you said. That's when they began to put their twist on it, and these Kemetic deities became so-called Greek deities and all this other stuff that they had going on. You know, this is where your Osiris, you know, come on to manifest, as opposed to Osar. You know, this is where your all Isis come on to manifest, as opposed to all Set, you know, during this particular period. You know, I also have a whole bunch more that I can present in regards to Dylan. We'll touch on that in a second. But there's a measure here in the document that is most noteworthy here as well. And I'm going right back to that same document that I sent out, you know, earlier, that I had up here. Notice what it says here. Watch this. And I'm going to show you something. This is going to remove all doubt. Not saying that our Moorish kin here have, we talking about in those who may look at these things later on, but it says it should be remembered that the Coptic language represents the final development of the Egyptian language. See, this is what I was talking about earlier, right? So that automatically, you know, X the so-called Greek out. Watch how it gets even deeper, and you can see the truth and the falsehood strangely mixed when the European try to call the Coptic Greek. That's another thing. We don't accept that the first few letters were Greek and then a few Demotic letters were added up to make the Coptic. No, all of it was Old Nubian, all of it was Coptic. You see what I'm saying? That's how the European try to teach it though. Cyrus Gordon in his book, Forgotten Script, states that the Coptic Church still preserves the native Egyptian language written in Greek characters. You see that? How are they going to be a native Egyptian language written in Greek character? Anytime you're talking about native, you're talking about something native to the land. Unless these so-called Greeks you talking about was really native to the land. The Etruscans, the Kiftihu, so to speak. That word Kiftihu, I spoke on how you can look at the relation of it, and if you change the I, you know, to an O and the F, you know, to a P, you know, and then you got it Koptihu. You see, you can see the relation even in that. You know, when you speak of the ancient Kiftihu, you know that was there. And so the Coptic Church here, they say, you know, this is dealing with still preserve the native Egyptian language written in Greek characters. It says, so that we have an unbroken tradition of Egyptian texts spanning about 5,000 years. So this is a whole new measure, which makes sense because the average Bible that they talk about, most of them are translated, they would say, from Greek, right? But if the Greek didn't come into existence until like 300 BC, then how can that be a language on the manifest, you know, 2000 BC? It had to be an older language on the manifest because there are texts that are written in this script that they now call Greek, but we call it Coptic. So we know that the Coptic Bible, or what some people call the Ethiopian Bible, as well, is older than the modern European demonstrations. You see, so all this, all you got to do is look at this. So we wonder, why is it that they cast out everything that come from our people, the Gospel of Barnabas, all these other books that were considered Coptic texts, they call them pseudo. You see, and that's why I have to emphasize that, because most of our people love to use that word when it comes to truth, when they don't know this is the same misnomer that they tried to put on the books our ancestors had. The Ark of the Covenant, you know, it said to have had the scrolls of the book of Enoch in it, and that's how they got it in Ethiopia. You see what I'm saying? So we speak out against our own script by adopting this terminology Europeans come up with, because we think it sounds good to try to cast somebody measure out. Oh, that's a pseudo demonstration. You know, that's just like using the term black and Negro and applying it to yourself. Same type of way. Now you want to apply misnomers to the science that our people, the language that our people brought on the manifest, and give it to somebody else too. So it says, as a matter of fact, the Coptic language was the real key to deciphering the hieroglyphic, right? And the Demotic scripts by Champollion. And we know they ain't deciphered nothing, first and foremost. But they saying the Coptic language was the real key, and this is what we're finna get them at right here. So if the Coptic language was real key, the Coptic language, you know, was there as an Egyptian script existing 5,000 years. Uh-oh, somebody in trouble now. Somebody finna be exposed now. As a French teenager living in Grenoble, France, Champollion dreamed of being the one who would unlock the secrets of the Rosetta Stone. And see, this Rosetta Stone is finna be the evidence in the, you know, the exhibit that we finna use to convict these ones of real pseudoism that they've been demonstrating. He studied both ancient history and Coptic language, right? It say Christine Hobson in her book, The World of the Pharaohs, described Champollion as a genius with a gift of languages, including Coptic, which he told you in the last measure that I demonstrated, that he loved himself some Coptic. Everything he translated, he was dealing with Coptic. He didn't say Greek, he said Coptic, right? It say, which he mastered early, believing correctly that it would be the key he would need one day to understand Egyptian. So did he use the Greek or the Coptic? Because we got some people saying the Greek language was used to translate the Rosetta Stone because some Greek was supposed to be on the Rosetta Stone. But what we see here, Coptic was used in order to get a drawing out of a certain alphabet there. And it wasn't but 3 languages that's inscribed on that Ptolemaic Rosetta Stone. Watch this. Later on, he used his knowledge of the Coptic language to decipher the hieroglyphic writings on the Rosetta Stone. This great accomplishment of Champollion widely opened up the doors to unlocking of the glorious mysteries. Hold up, let me see here. It says of Pharaonic Egypt. So now, watch this. I'm gonna show you this picture here, Moors, and we're gonna open it back up to our Moorish kin. See, these people, they're gonna stop playing with us. And I'm gonna show it to you blowed up. And you're gonna get it exactly where we're coming from. Now, this was a Ptolemaic relic. Keep this in mind. This was not created by our ancestors, Moorish kin. This Rosetta Stone came from Rosetta. These are Ptolemaic expressions of their hieroglyphic. Now, there are many out here teaching, especially our brother Walter Williams. You know, there are many out here teaching on how Ptolemy not only had those who were considered native Egyptians, but of other faiths also. At a certain time, these Ptolemaic rulers would make somebody translate. So I say, get over there, and if you don't do it, I kill you. You know, that type of demonstration. You know what I mean? Translate it like I said, and you better put my name in there too. You know, that's how it happened. And so that's where this particular measure came from. And so this was found later. Now, this is the Demotic script. This is supposed to be the pictorial script that they call the language. This is Ptolemaicism up here. That's Egypt-Ptolemaicism. You know, there's a whole nother measure dealing with certain symbols. And they added like 1,000 more symbols to the ones that was existing already. It was like 700 that was actually on monuments, they say, prior to, you know, the Ptolemaic people coming and taking over in 330 BC, 333, right? So when you look at this Demotic, you know, we already showed how, you know, Arabic, you know, actually derived from this right here. You can see it all up in there. Anybody that know the style of writing, and they say, well, this has a root in what they call hieratic, as well as being connected to that. We're going to get into all that. That's why we're tracing it back, the language. So if these are 3 languages, what is this at the bottom? If this became the key that Champollion so-called used to transliterate this Ptolemaic message, we're going to put it where that. We ain't going to say he translated no hieroglyphics of our ancestors. He translated the Ptolemaic message, which was forgery. That's what it was, something that he created during that time. Look at this. This would be known as Greek in this era and time. But if Champollion didn't use Greek, he used Coptic, they were calling this in all actuality the Coptic language, not Greek. You see what I'm saying? It's only 3 languages supposed to be on here, so-called. We know this ain't even a written script right here. This is, again, Ptolemy's forged so-called Egyptian measure here. And so what Champollion deciphered in all actuality, and that's another thing too. Let's look at it like this here. Now they would tell you that, because you see them do it, they'll put a letter, just say the whole alphabetical chart of Demotic, right? They will put it side by side with each letter of what they would call, you know, this so-called hieroglyphic language, right? And they run equal, you know, as the same side by side when you put them together, right? Same thing when they put the Greek letters on the side of them, right? With the exception of a few, because it's more in this so-called Greek, but it's really Coptic. It's like 32 in the Coptic. 7 they took away in the Greek, right? But it still goes into more than what they would say it is. So how do you make sense out of this? We can see this is a whole lot of text right here, Moorish kin. This is a whole lot of text right here. So how in the world can you equate all this text right here with being the same when you count these words in here? Especially when they have an equivalent of them being side by side, letter for letter. You know, that right there debunked the whole measure as well. Same thing right here. I mean, this here would look closer to being the same in amount here, even though this Demotic look like it's still overriding this here you know, if you look at it, it's a lot of demonic writing in there, right? So the main thing I'm getting at, this was Coptic. This was Coptic. And this is what we can also see again at 330 or that 300 BC, when they come in later and begin to call things Greek. We see what's going on. And we know how the people look, you know, prior to our people. I mean, prior to their people coming on the manifest. We know how the people look. You know, prior to that, better yet, let me do this here real quick too, since we mentioned it. The way they look, because I hadn't put these out here yet. Look at this, Moorish kin. You see that? These are their pictures, a depiction of a sphinx-like creature, right? Over there in so-called, now see, you can take all this back to the Etruscans. Look at the characters, look at how these things look. Huh? You tell me where that came from. Where they got that from? Ain't that all set? All of this stuff that they have, you don't really see this type of stuff here. This might be really new to some of our Moorish kin. See the locks? That was their signature demonstration right there. We showed that to the Moors in the other video. That was a signature measure with them over there. It was definitely our people though. Look like they got a man. Oh man.
Islam.
Islam.
It was only showing your files. It didn't show the pictures. I don't know if you was trying to show the pictures.
It didn't show it when I blowed them up. See, that's
no.
And hold up. Let me go ahead here again. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open it up this way. Cause I actually I got the photo slide right here. I can open it up that way. And I'm glad you stopped me before I got a little too far ahead, where actually I did get a little carried away. But here we go right here. This is what I was trying to show you. Can you see that more?
Islam.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, when you're looking at all of this, I'm not trying to do that. Stop it, I say. Hold up. Get this up here out of the way. I'm trying to do this without. Okay, we're gonna cancel that. That was trying to blow that up big enough where you can see it. Okay, so there it is right there. European like to call that a gryphon. You know, we know it's a sphinx, but you can see similar measures here. You see the pictures changing, brother Bati Bey?
Islam.
Okay, so we know that comes straight out of all this stuff here. You can even see the lotus plant here, but you know that's definitely, you know, a symbol of the Sphinx, but definitely a version of All-Set, Isis, as they would call it, you know, in their culture. But you don't see this stuff. They don't talk about this type of stuff here, you know, when it comes to the so-called culture of the Greeks. We always see this Eurocentric, buttermilk complected European, you know. Yeah, all of this right here, this artwork, you can definitely see where they carried over, you know, certain measures here. You know, good and well, there ain't no Europeans there with them locks in their head. So, yeah, I just wanted to show those particular measures there. So that removes all doubt. When you get to talk about so-called Greek, they better think twice. So Islam more. But at the end of the day, like I said, the Rosetta Stone is the evidence. Because if they say in Champollion, you know, that the Coptic was the key, then what is Greek coming from? What that got to do with anything? Even when it comes to the Rosetta Stone. You see? So it don't get no plainer than that. All right. Is there any other more that would like to come forth and bring their measure forth? All right, Grand National Secretary of the State. All right, now we finna learn now. Islam is a goddess and queen.
Islam, can you hear me more?
Oh, loud and clear with divine ears.
Praise Allah. Islam warriors can first of all on the rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Georgia consulate for providing the forum, to Dr. Fatih Bey for opening our meeting according to law, and giving honor to Act One and also to our host instructor, our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shedowa Menti El Mahedid Shepsuel, and to our Consul General, Georgia, Dr. Torrey Simpson Bey, National Assistant Grand Chairman. First of all, much gratitude to you, Dr. Shahid, for sending out the email with the various, the video from last week, and also the other downloaded items that was definitely a benefit and a help. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to deal with the Egyptian Adeptus Research Sultanate class and our assignment, the ancient Kemetic origins of the so-called Greek language as it relates to HEKAPTAH, or Coptic script, aka Old Nubian, which came from one common Kemetic mother tongue. And in my research, just as you were speaking earlier, Dr. Shahid, I saw where they tried to have, in reference to trying to make Coptic the tail end of the Egyptian script demonstration threaded throughout, so definitely appreciated the heads up with that. Now, first when I looked at the Copts or Coptic, and it came with different languages, especially Arabic. Al-Kibit are an ethno-religious group indigenous to North Africa. Now, since I had that dictionary of the Holy Quran, I went in here to try to see, get a general picture of what that word meant. And it came with, it had 2 reference points on page 618 and also page 440, dealing with various words that stemmed from QI, or Waka, and QIB, Kabbalan, Kabbalatan, Kiblatan. Hold on. To accept, admit, receive, agree. Quablu, formerly or before. Now I'm looking at the ancient ones. Kubalan, the 4-part, face-to-face or before. Power, towards, in the direction of, facing, alongside. Anything before, opposite, the point in the direction of which prayer is performed. The Kaaba at Mecca, a place of worship. Favorable reception, gracious acceptance. Tribe or host, to come near, draw near, approach, turn towards. Rush upon, facing one another. Proceeding toward or heading towards. He prevailed, fulfilled. I saw descending, assure reality, to make stand, to protect. And this reminded me of our prayer. To save, preserve, to guard against evil and calamity, to take as a shield. And one who guards against evil and against that which harms and injures, and is regardful of his duty toward human beings and God, takes shelter as a shield, takes God as a shelter or shield. Again, that brought to me our prophet, our creator, our Father God Allah, and to me it was the mindset of the people to get even more clarity. Taqwa even came from that root. Protection, warding off evil, observing duty, abstainment, observing the divine ordinances in every walk of life. That to me was Maonic law. Again, tracing our history back. Now, referring to the term Copts became synonymous with being a Christian as a result of Egypt's Arabization and Islamization. You know how they try to remix everything. And, you know, in this new era of time, they try to say that Christian was just as old as Kemet in some writings. Copts of Coptic ancestry maintain a distinct ethnic identity and generally reject an Arab identity. That was also synonymous with Mustafa Gondola, in reference to the Arabs came after them and tried to deal with the remix and say that they were the ones that created the original language. Coptic is the native language coming out of Kemet. I'm going to try to run through these because I got a lot of, hold on, Morris, let me try to. It had dialects of the Coptic language: Sahidic, Baharic, Akhmimic, Lycopolitan, Fayumic, Oxyrhynchite. Now, also in various other languages, the one I highlighted, Kemi, to me, referring back to Kemet, you know, which is actually in the language Baharic Coptic, historically spoken by the Copts of Egypt, tracing it back to Kemet. Egypt, Kemi, Kemet of Kemet, language of the people of Egypt, or simply Egyptian language, to show the relationship between HEKAPTAH, Coptic, and Old Nubian. In some of these definitions, they had Old Nubia as well. This was also interesting in reference to Copto-Greek, where they try to do the remix of the Greek language in here, and they bring forth the term logos. And this AIGUPTIOS is also Greek for Egyptian. Still going back to, no matter how they try to remix, it's coming out of Egypt. So basically it had different references. Now here's where they bring in Nubia to show the correlation between Coptic and Nubia as well. The language is spoken only in Egypt and historically has had little influence outside of the territory, except for monasteries located in Nubia. We know that that is not the case, because when our people traveled, they took the language with them, which makes common sense. Again, a few words of Coptic origin are found in the Greek language. We know that is not true. So every word that they speak, you have got to discern if it's truth or falsehood based, and this is why one's foundation is key. This is why I give honor to these classes, so that you have the foundation based upon truth, and that way you're able to discern truth from falsehood. Most words of Egyptian origin that entered into Greek and subsequently into other European languages came directly from ancient Egyptian, often Demotic, which is what we were just speaking about. This again gives a correlation in reference to what the modern name is, what the Coptic name is, and what the transliteration was coming out of Egypt. Now, this one right here, where it speaks about the Coptic name, Papnut, from Egyptian, NTR. I'm pulling out Netter. You know, had we not had the lesson in reference to remove the vowels, and this is dealing with the Kemethian language belonging to God, you know, which we know Netter, Netteru, dealing with of the gods. So that in itself was a blessing. And that is like helping me trace the steps back, because I'm looking at little keys or little footsteps tracing our history back, which was indeed a blessing. The 5th to 6th century Coptic from Upper Egypt. Coptic uses a writing system almost wholly derived from the Greek alphabet. That's definitely untruth. We know that it wasn't Coptic that came from Greek. It was the other way around. But if you don't know, then this is what the path that you will go on in error. And again, we are tracing this back into Nubia to show the correlation with Coptic, Nubia, and Old Nubia. This is basically the breakdown of the various dialects. Again, showing the correlation. Old Coptic, most archaic, that means the oldest. Now, when I tried to look this word up, as far as the etymology, in essence, it went to Asiatic, dealing with earthbound, you know, so that was another key. I'm like, good, great paradigm shifts all over the place, paradigm shifts, you know, and what our prophet brought to us and how we had to do the research. Again, dealing with the various dialects, Demotic, for its part indicated, dealing with the special dialects of Coptic. Now, ancient Nubia and its languages, archived from the original on January 5th, 2009. Moreover, written evidence indicates that multilingualism was very high among the Nubians. They spoke many languages. You know, our people were great, you know, and they had to when they traveled, you know, from east to west and also up in Europe and things of that nature. And that's where when Dr. Shahid told us to research that word Kiptu, dealing with Crete. And if you look at the map, you see just how close Crete is to northern Africa and dealing with Kemet. So it would stand to reason. And of course, we traveled, we know we circumnavigated. So therefore, you're going to see, and we also see Meroe, which is Meru, dealing with the Moors, you know, Old Nubian. So all of this is dealing with the same people. Grand blessing. Now here we see Arabic, language of the Hijra. You know, again, Coptic. We know Arabia came after when it came down with Kemet and tried to put their remix saying that they were the creators, you know. And giving honor to Mustafa Gondola. So thank you, Dr. Shahid, for that blessing. This is what you were speaking about. Coptic is the name of the final stage of the Egyptian language. And we know that that's a half-truth, you know. And again, when the pen gets in your hand, you bring the truth forth. And I also saw an aspect where they're going to say that the language is dead. Who you? You know. When did Coptic become extinct? Passive speakers were recorded as late as the 1930s, and traces of traditional vernacular Coptic reported to exist in other places, such as Abydos and Dendera. You know, again, remixed with Egyptian Christian as far as Coptic is concerned. There's no uniform Coptic language, but a number of dialects. Again, who is this that's doing the speaking? You're talking about a European trying to categorize, you know, just as they did with our people as far as wipe off the Moorish and misnomer them in BC. Same with this. Make it as if it has no meaning or interpretation, just like nationality is not important. The same thought pattern. Now, here again, Coptic is a direct descendant of the ancient Egyptian. From everything we know, it must be assumed the spoken language behind the written evidence of Coptic was usually acquired as a first language, which means as mother tongue in non-Hellenized or non-Arabized Egyptian families, but scarcely, if at all, as a second language. Coptic is no longer a living language. See, this is Rome going back and forth. Now, all of these references were pulled from the same text, but yet you had different European thought patterns. Coptic alphabet is the 24 Greek letters written in rounded form, to which are added 6 additional letters taken from Egyptian Demotic script. But they're not telling you it's the whole thing is a copy. I tell you. Again, going back to the dialects, Widest use in the Nile Valley. Almost all native Coptic literature was composed in Sahidic between 325 and 800. There's, close to that 330 period of time. Now, this was also so mind-boggling in reference to, this is dealing with German language, okay? Look at the names of the people as far as the references are concerned. Berlin, you see papyrus here. You can kind of make out in some of these German words what it is that they are studying. Pseudo, we know that's false. Now, this is one of the dialects coming out of Coptic. Virgin Mary, papyrus, fragment, that's a piece of. So they take in bits and portions, but they know who our people are. This one here, dealing with Wolfgang, Novum Testamentum Coptus. Now, that's a particular Latin. Novum means a new thing, coming from the New Testament, but it was translated into Coptic. And this reminded me of the lesson that Dr. Shahi gave in reference to placed in a room, decipher the hieroglyphs. So here it is, here's a paper, but you can decipher the thought pattern of the author, even though you may not know that a special language, you can pick up the ether from it. And this is the last portion, just additional references and dealing with various Europeans trying to redirect the course and the mindset of our people to being lesser than our glorious and grand forefathers, ancient forefathers were. So this was a very grand exercise for me because, and I give you much honor, Dr. Shahi, for giving the measure on the email, but I still had to do the research for self because it took me through different crooks and cranes. As long as I had the foundation, then I was able to discern truth from falsehood, as opposed to, I don't know if that sounds right, dealing with ethereally recognizing we've got to be the question and the answer. But still, it was just a godsend. So gratitude more for bringing the class forth. Peace and love.
Islam, you can keep on teaching, Grand National Secretary of the State. Goodness gracious. Man, I'm over here about to beat my little flow up over here saying, man. Man, that's a powerful demonstration. And what you did, Grand National Secretary of the State, not only did you show, I'm talking about hard proof, where nobody can bucket, right? But you also showed a T-square, so to speak, of where this is where these ones was coming in, trying to shoot this in. Your command over that special measure is solid. And that's how we all have to be able to demonstrate that same way. Because if not, we'll go pick up a book and say, well, the Greeks said this, and the Greeks said that. Not realizing truth and falsehood are strangely mixed. You pointed that out, and that's what we getting at. Because some people think that is outlandish for us to come forth and say it ain't no Greek, it ain't no cop. You know what I mean? They really think this is crazy. Some of our own people, they'll argue you down. But you cannot argue with that information that you placed there, and you did exactly what we expected for one to do, not just take all of that was there in the particular information, even though it's good to have, you went and did your own research. You know what I mean? And that's what we try and inspire all of our Moorish kin to do. You know what I mean? We know that we're going to give each other the truth, but there's nothing wrong with going to look. Because what happened when you go to look, after that time period, you impress more information in your consciousness. And it will resurface at a moment's notice when you're trying to educate somebody where it needs to be taught. But if you don't know this, and somebody come to you, with certain things, then you're at the mercy of those who bring you those things, because you can't go in the area. So now, in this case, you might want to shrink. You might want to get frustrated. You might want to redirect the course because you don't know. You see what I'm saying? You trying to teach them, but now they come forth with, no, we got to be on point. We gods. So in every situation, we got to be able to secure those in need, and you indeed did it. Grand National Secretary of State. That's a powerful measure. Moors really pay attention to that because that's what we talk about right there. Goodness gracious. All right. I know we got some more that want to come in here now, even if you didn't have no homework. Prepare. It's long. Any other board would like to come forth and give their measure? Grand National Secretary of State, you might have to send that PDF out to the whole of Moorish America, including me. It's long. All right. Okay. We don't have any other Moors that would like to come forth and give their portion. Okay. But what we'll do is at this time, we'll try to, since it's Moors are just getting the drawing, we're gonna try to go to our Grand National Chairman and see what his measure is. Islam. Dr. Akanak and Pert M. Heru, Tutankhamun Bay. Are you there, Grand Man?
He's on a mission more. Gratitude.
Islamism. Praise be to Allah. Islam. Well, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to show our Moorish kin a brief measure if I can pull it up here. And then I'm gonna end up going over to our Moorish kin and let them give their drawings. Let me see. I'm gonna show you something here dealing with these measures. I want to make sure I pull the right thing up here. Let's see. And then we'll open up the floor for our Moorish kin to come forth with their measures of understanding, so to speak. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm trying to find the shortest one of it because they got plenty of them, but she done, this European lady has went viral, you know, because she, they calling her a conspiracy theorist. And they really own her own people riding. And let's see here. They got so many of them in here going in on her. I'm gonna go to this one right here, just at the 6 mark, because they talking about the same thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it right now. Probably one of the best accounts, I think, on Twitter, just because of all these crazy videos posted like every day. Probably.
Let's see here. Let me open it up now, and so that you can see it. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Probably one of the best accounts, I think, on Twitter, just because of all these crazy people the account finds daily. Of course, talking about libs of TikTok. Fantastic account. The reason I'm bringing this up is because TikTok was a mistake. Okay, I want to show you probably one of the dumbest things I've seen so far that's come from this platform. And what that is the new theory that ancient Rome never existed. Here is the founder of this new conspiracy. A history TikToker's viral claim that ancient Rome didn't exist is getting backlash from academics, as I would hope it would. I really hate TikTok, and I really can't stand a lot of these crazy conspiracy theories like this or flat Earth, because you have to be a complete moron to think the Earth is flat. You have to be pretty stupid to think ancient Rome is fake. Here we are. This person has 100,000 followers. And sometimes I wonder if maybe this is done on purpose, if this is some kind of, I keep getting like this, like some kind of paid opposition. Because it's like, how can you sit there and believe this? Now, this person's like main thing here is that there's no Roman scrolls. And if you just do like a Google search real quick, you can pull up thousands of images of Roman scrolls. And it's like, do people just not do that? But the real problem here is that it's crazy shit like this that's going to get legitimate people with good arguments on other things to platform. Because they're always going to point to this, just like they do it.
He just talking about his opinion, but I'm trying to see where that video actually what she said. But nevertheless, you can go look it up, Morris Ken. This lady spoke on this recently, and they attacking her. My point that I'm trying to make here, Morris, is that they're attacking this woman because she said Rome didn't exist, and they calling her a conspiracy theorist. Like, you can see the videos, it's like countless videos that are made against her. It's like in the last couple of weeks, they're attacking this woman. Now, shouldn't we be in unison the same way when it comes to people trying to take our history and remix it? You see, even though what she's saying support what we saying, you know what I mean? But do you see them Europeans coming out staunchly trying to defend, oh, she crazy, she insane. You know, this is the craziest thing I ever heard. And look at the followers she got. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, well, mind your business. I don't care nothing about what somebody else put on their account or what they say, but they're making it their business. Some of them got 40-minute long videos going against this woman. You know what I mean? So we have to be the same way when it becomes to being staunch in defending the truth that we demonstrate. You know, when we see certain measures like that, just like he come out with his little opinion, you know, we have to, like it said in the Grand Quran, let there be a people among you, those who rise from among you, enjoining what's right and forbidding what's wrong. And so that's what we're doing when we set these measures out. Not only is this a teaching moment, a teachable moment, and learning from each other here in this research society, but this is also setting a foundation in the manifest to where the public can also get a drawing from this, because we've been, you know, uploading and giving these measures to the people, and the people really been receiving them well. You know, they picking up on them. And so this is key. You know, note that you too, me too, all of us, when we speak these things, some people gonna consider us conspiracy theorists with all that evidence and information that's there. Why? Because what Rome has said has been accepted as the norm. But who gave, like the Grand National Secretary of State, who told you, you know, to do whatever? Who are you? You know, what make your opinion, you know, so much more greater than anybody else's that you can cancel anybody else out as that ain't right? When we know Rome is constantly always debunking themselves. They always saying when they come up with a scientific finding, oh, we just found something that had a greater, you know, theory or whatever. So even their science is not fixed. So how can you depend upon something and claim it to be the end all be all, and it's possible that it's going to change later on down the line? Like right now, you know, if let's just say a text come up written in stone, when we talk about the HEKAPTAH, if that come on the manifest right now, Morris Ken, and it got, you know, let's say it's 50,000 BC. I'm just giving a number, just throwing something out there. They're going to immediately cast that to the side, and they might try to say, oh, the Greek language existed 50,000 years ago. And therefore, see, this is trump every other language. I mean, it existed before it, all the while. This is the Coptic language. You see, but nevertheless, they'll go against what they already have been teaching. So now you got to rewrite the history books. And this is what they mostly fear. When you tell these types of truths, you got to rewrite the whole narrative. You got to scrap them textbooks you've been teaching from. So they look at us as being a threat when we have this knowledge to be able to expose what they've been teaching in their paradigm. So when we can teach and expose the truth and give it to our people as it is and not how it seems or how somebody else would like you receive it, you know, this is where one becomes a threat. So don't think because you are bringing these truths forth that people are going to applaud you and they're going to love what it is you bringing forth. No, you're going to have some opposition from our own people. Those who think that they done studied some Greek and they can read the Greek Bible. Oh, they're going to come at you. You know, those who think that they've been studying the Greek so much that they can conjure up some of them Roman spirits. You know, even them, they're going to come at you. You know, so we have to be able to stand, as our people would say, in the face of adversity and stand on our truth when we know it to be the truth. I don't care who say they accept a Gregorian calendar. I don't accept it as being the truth. You know, and right now, like I said, we dealing with these measures, so we got proper timeline. And so just looking at basic things that I pointed out earlier, like the 2000 BC aspect of a so-called New Testament being brought on the manifest, when you look at that in and of itself, that automatically supersedes the age or the birth of what they call in this so-called Greek language. So how is this possible if Greek came during 330 BC and there's a text that exists during 2000 BC? Huh? Explain, and that's simple. Don't take rocket science to figure that out, do it. But when they are saying that this language is Coptic and they're trying to hide that away too, I like when the Grand National Secretary pointed out the non-Hellenized and all that type of measure right there. Because when they talk about the Coptic Christians, let's be real about it. We're really talking about those who are studying and teaching low-key the teachings of ancient Kemetic, the real Coptic so-called Christians. They're teaching about all Saw and all Set and Heru. They ain't teaching about no Virgin Mary. You see what I'm saying? So, man, it's just so much that wisdom, still much wisdom to be learned by the Moors. You know, what we don't know can build a nation. You see, so we just say gratitude, Moors, and that's my measure. And so at this time, what we will do, since some of our family may just be observing, you know, and looking at what was put out here, Moorish kin, I'm gonna say it like this right here. At some time, we got to go and do the research and dig for ourselves. Maybe we do it at our own time. But we putting the teaching out here. We putting the truth out here. So all our questions really will be answered when we do the research ourselves. And so if there's anybody that would like to come forth and just give their measure on what it is that we set out, you know what I mean? All is well. But we're going to keep it moving. We ain't going to tarry long, you know, because we got to keep it moving and get back here all the way to the other language. But all of this information is necessary. You know, it's all necessary, Moors, to when we go to really getting into this language and trying to build out. Because if you don't have this knowledge, when we start trying to teach our own mother tongue, you're going to be lost. You know what I mean? You ain't going to know how to go forth and do the research on the words because you missed a part of the class. You know, so praise be to Allah for those who are steadfast and diligent, because this ain't going to be Brother Shaheed doing it all by himself. Brother Shaheed can do it by himself as far as the drive. We can do it, but we want a collective hand involved in this demonstration. You know what I mean? So it'll be Moorish America, Islam. So, all right, at this time, our brother Marvin Edwards Bey, we see he has his hand up. And Islamism, grand man, what have you to say? If you're speaking, we can't hear you, grand man. I see your mic look like it's open. You must be muted out over there. Can you hear me, brother Marvin Edwards Bey? That's strange. All right, well, until our brother get back on the manifest, we'll call for him again because he had his hand raised. Any other more would like to come forth and give their portion? Okay, Sister Carter Bay, Curta Bay.
Islam is Islam. I'll be quick because I know the God man, he's trying to get in. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act One. I give honors to this class, National Assistant Grand Chief. I tell you, I'm just enjoying everything, and I'm working diligently. I'm getting there. I'm gonna surprise y'all. Just give me a little bit time because I did do some research, but still working on that PowerPoint thing. But and I saw a lot of things, and what I did, I looked up the oldest languages that they claim was the oldest languages in the world, and I come across one language they was talking about was the oldest language was Tamil. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it's Timil. And they was talking about, I can see how they always refer to ancient Greek. And I can see how everything that you was telling us is true, how they try to, I mean, it's spelled Tamil, Tamil. They claim that was the oldest language in the world. But and like I said, like it's been said all along, we know that everything stemmed from our language. We were here first. We the one that gave the God consciousness, the languages, and all to the world. And also, I came across. Now they did claim that they did give reference to our Egyptian teachings. They claim that the Tamil. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right or not. Sanskrit, Sanskrit, I think. But anyway, they say that one, Tamil, and our Egyptians, those were the oldest languages in the world, and they only credit them as being 5,000 years old. And also, they had another language I looked up. They had another language, and I'm gonna do my best to pronounce that one. And of course, it's Lithuanian. It's Lithuanian, and they claim that was 5,000 years old, but they accredited back to the Latin and the ancient Greeks. In other words, saying they said that. Let me see, Latin and ancient Greek has retained the sounds and grammar rules from the ancient era in a far better way than any of its linguistic cousins. In other words, talking about this language is the language that's formed everything that we have up until now. And I also had to go back and do some research. I looked in my Nile Valley Civilization. Anthony Broader, he did an excellent job on talking about some of the language too. And also, I just want to say gratitude, God man, for sending that that information out. It's a lot. I'm trying to keep up with it and take it in, but I went back and listened to the playback, the class, and the more I play it and listen to it, the more I understand it too. So gratitude for all that you're doing for us. I'm hanging in here. All this is but I'm grasping it, and I'm understanding, and I'm trying to. I don't have any questions as of yet, but I definitely will put them questions out there because I'm anxious to learn all of this. And you're right, we got the pen. The pen is being put in our hand, and it's time for us to tell the truth. This is our story, and it's time for us to tell it instead of them. Gratitude for letting me share. Gratitude, Brother Abelsby, for letting me speak Islam.
In Islamism, Sister Curta Bay, we give honors to you for that special drawing. And yeah, see, and that's another thing, you know, when you go into the language of Tamil, you know, and really you're going into what we call the Indus Valley Civilization. We know the Indus Valley Civilization, which is the Indus Kushite Valley Civilization, Dravidian, so forth, the untouchables as they call them, right? they came from the Kushite civilization, right? Which were the Mero-Kushite civilization. So if they come through the Cushitic line, then their language too would have to come from the ancient Cushitic line, which goes back to Hamite or Kemetic line, right?
Islam.
What it is, most people try to separate the history, just like Samaria. Some people try to make Samaria more older than Kemet, but how can this be when Samaria is a Cushite and that Cushite come through the line of Cam or Ham?
Islam.
You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's necessary that we do that research, you know, in depthly and thoroughly. And then we will see that this is still going back to dealing with our same people, you know, that are in the Kemetic region. You know, that's why scientists, every time they come up with comparative measures, they always go to Kemet, because Kemet is the most preserved, the most ancient and most oldest. So if they want to know how ancient something is, they go back to the text. Well, did it mention these people in this text, or did it mention those people? This is so Kemet is a measure based upon anthropology, archaeology, all those measures. A lot of things are referenced to go back and see. They use Kemet to test how ancient something is, even though there may be more things that are buried, you know, that exist from the same ancestors in another region. For example, it could be a whole nother Kemet, you know, right here under the dirt somewhere. That might go way back. We still wouldn't change the fact that it's dealing with those ancient people. You know, so we give honors to your sister for that measure. And yeah, they came up with the Sanskrit language and all that. But when you go back beyond that, the language before that was known as the language of the Harappian civilization, you know, over there in India. And that Harappian language is the same as basically the original Arabic language that you see them demonstrating in pre-Islamic Arabia. Sabaic is what they call it, the Sabian script, Islam.
Islam, attitude.
Islamism, gratitude, sis, for that measure. Okay, powerful. All right, brother Marvin Evers Bay, can you get in here now?
He just put in the chat that he's still unable to use his microphone.
Oh,
so he won't be able to give a measure, no?
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, gratitude. Islam. All right, is there any other more that would like to give their portion in? Based upon what you heard, you got any questions or comments?
Islam, I'd just like to add, if that don't mind.
Go ahead, brother, no problem. It's wide open.
This also shows that, and I was telling these brothers that from the, they call themselves Hebrew, that it shows even in there, they said that by the time the Moors had mastered the dry land farming, that the Hebrews were just beginning their history. And they said that the language of the Moors were the same as the language of the Canaanite, which was what they call Aramaic, or what basically Kemet. They were saying the same thing so about the Hebrew. So them even saying there's a Hebrew language, you know what I'm saying, it kind of shows that they're just putting stuff out here to take the light off of our people so that we can't see how great you is. Because they even showed children in school that if you show them how great they were, that their perception and projection of who they are and how far they're willing to go is boundless, you know. And so if you don't know who you are and you only held to that little short block of slavery, you're you know what I'm saying, we're doing ourselves a disservice, you know, as a whole. It just shows that, man, we are a powerful people. And right here we getting back to our essence right here, and give honors to Mag for all this work. Islam, peace and love.
In Islam, brother, peace and love. You know, I had set a measure out here in the book recently, Facebook. And this is somebody that's supposed to be an Israelite, so to speak. We ain't gonna say, actually, I guess studying the teachings of the Torah. We won't even say they're Israelite. but studying the teachings of the Torah and wrote a book saying that the ancient Jews or the ancient Egyptian were the Jews. But really it's the other way around. You know, they have identified so much in compelling evidence that, you know, these people that are known as Israelites, you know, were present, but they don't want to accept the reality that it was the other way around, that it was actually the ancient, you know, well, we can say the Jews were the ancient Egyptians, you know, instead of saying the ancient Egyptians were the Jews, you know, because the term Jew came later, but we know what he's getting at. In other words, those who are called Hebrew, he's saying they was really Egyptians. But then he went into talking about how, you know, the Greek scholarship, same stuff we talking about basically, how they created their own deities during the Ptolemaic period, you know, so he was on point there. But my thing is the trick in trying to make it be believed that, you know, these Egyptians were really Jews. These Egyptians were really Hebrews, and it wasn't no Kemetic, you know, from that aspect. But I'm gonna show you something that was said and how this one stretched their knowledge, so to speak. Try to go here. Let me see here. I want to make sure, because I actually had, they gave a couple of them. They was talking about the, okay, it says Kabbalah. This is the secret tradition of the Torah, dating back to the time of the Septuagint, about 270 AD, right? The word Kabbalah means that which is received. Kabbalah also is called the oral tradition, is a body of esoteric knowledge, is a corpus of esoteric knowledge reporting the great secrets that the initiated Jews resisted and rebelling against the Assyrian, Babylonian, Greek, and Roman dominations transmitted to each other, either orally or in writing. Thus, the Kabbalah is considered as a forbidden reading before 40 years, even idolatrous reading by the rabbinic authorities, because it often deconstructs the text of the Torah, going so far as to designate the God of the Jews as the God of the ancient Egyptians. So you see, they're saying that the Kemetic teachings are being preserved in Kabbalah, but this goes against, you know, these rabbis, because, you know, they teach that they was enslaved by Egyptians. So of course they gonna feel like attacked when they hear that. But this is what's being taught in Kabbalah, and that's why I say at certain teachings, at certain levels, you can see the truth becoming one. You see, it says that the Kabbalah is the hieroglyphic reading grid that has remained unexploited by modern Egyptology. You said this is what this is the author's opinion here, right? You know, and he's showing that the Kemetic teachings are rooted in what they call the Kabbalah. They actually got different Kabbalahs. You know, I can tell you the difference between them. You know, years ago I learned this. The one with the K comes from the tradition of, you know, the rabbinic tradition of, and matter of fact, this was a Sufi brother, Moses bin, I want to say Hashim, I think that might have been his name, bin Shimei, something like that right there. But he was the one that basically had a lot to do with this measure being compiled. Nevertheless, this is the K. In the QA is more connected to the Kemetian Kabbalah, Kemetian truth. And then you had the CABA, you know, that which is where they deal with that Western Freemasonry, Masonic Kabbalah. So there are three different forms, you know, of Kabbalah. It's almost like the difference between Islam, Islamism, Muslim and Muslim degrees, so to speak. You know, Muslim dealing with submission, Muslim is the will of Allah, you know, so it's based on the school of thought, and you can tell which school of thought it is by how it is labeled with its first words that's prefixed, whether it is the Q, which is Ka, you're dealing with the K, you know, which is Ka, or the CA, Ka, Kabbalah, you know, so that's just one to grow on. So it says Zohar, right? The Zohar is also another book that deal with what they call the book of emanations. They have also what they call the Sefer Yetzirah. All of these books are connected. They also have one book that I sent to the Moors called the Sefer Ali. You know, where it was talking about Allah and man and all. That's a powerful PDF right there. You know, Adam Kad, man, and all that teaching, it go into those areas. But it says Zohar and Tikkun also are. It is a set of works gathering the fundamental text of the Kabbalah. In Aramaic, at different times, when I use the word Kabbalah in my works, I always quote the Zohar text as a reference. Jean de Pauli Charles Mopsic translated the Zohar into French. The Tikkun al-Zohar is the most secret part of the Zohar and therefore of the Kabbalah, which questions the characters of the Torah. It says the latter are, as in ancient Egypt, solar characters. The children of Israel are the 12 constellations that came to settle in Egypt. Those who know esoterics know of this particular application of dealing with the 12 constellations in relation to dealing with the 12, you know, of the tribe of Israel, so to speak, or the 12 imams if it was dealing with al-Islam. You see, or the 12 tribes if you simply dealing with, like we said, them, or we can say the 12 disciples of Yehoshua. So all these different metaphysical breakdowns you find in texts like this, you know. And so it says Joseph is the nourishing river of Egypt. Abraham was born in Egypt in the house of his father Terah, the famous merchant of idols, who is none other than Yahweh, the God of Egypt. Jacob is renamed Israel because he is the sun illuminating Egypt. These few pieces of information make the Zohar the secret code of an Egyptian or even hieroglyphic reading of the Torah. And therefore, our Bibles, the Zohar constitutes a fundamental basis for the study of the ancient Nile Valley, a basis that modern Egyptology has never deigned to exploit. So we can see that one is going at the same Egyptology you hear me going at. You know, so we congratulate one for demonstrating that measure. We congratulate one for being able to see Kemet, you know, right there in them teachings. I told the Moors that Yahweh, the name Yahweh, Yahuwah, or who he, they all the same. And there are many other measures. This is somebody that has did extensive research. Like I said, only difference is they trying to give all the credit to those who are called the Israelites as opposed to just going to say it. Go back to Isaiah chapter 19 when it talk about 5 tribes speaking the language of Canaan. When you realize that these people in all essence were one people, then you can see the universality in this special measure. So these are certain other measures where he went into, see how I spelled Kabbalah here? See? You know, that's the difference in it, like I was saying earlier. But you know, yeah, everything in here is showing certain things that connect right back to Kemet. So this is a powerful work right here, more. You know, when you get into this special demonstration, you know, see, talking about Yahoo here, Yod or Yod. Now, it ain't strange. We always say the hand is, you know, symbolic to the mind. You know, when you stack these demonstrations up in a certain form, they form like a stick form of a man. Y'all seen us do it before. Like you would see this alphabet wall on top of this hay right here, and the hay on top of that, you know, so these are the legs. This would be the mid form, mid section, and then these come the other arms, you know, and so forth. And in the original, it looks like the figure of a stick being themselves. This would be like the line uniting divinity and matter, which you always see us display, you know, when we showing the tetragrammaton. So this would be the part that represent the head. This is Yod, you know. So when we say the hand is symbolic to the mind, we can see this word Yod or Yat. Yat is actually called hand as well in the Arabic and the Hebrew language. So that's a powerful demonstration when it's coming to the name of the creator, you know, Yod Hey Wav Hey, so to speak, you know, and it actually going into that science. So yeah, they go into a whole bunch of measures in here, the way it break it down. It said also written YHVH, because the V is interchangeable with W. It says Yahweh, it is the second name of God in the Hebrew Torah. It says, according to the Jewish tradition, YHVH is unpronounceable, although it is pronounced Adonai, Jehovah. You know, my birth name was rooted into that special demonstration right there. You know, so it says in Yahoo, it says Yahoo. In the ancient Jewish text, we recognize the Semitic roots of Yod, Yah. You often hear me say that the word Yah, and Yah. You know, we showed you pictures of this Kemetically, so more should know what we're talking about, right? Yahoo is used in the hieroglyphics to designate the divine light of the flood of the Nile. So you see how these symbols, they are explaining them through Kabbalah, because Kabbalah deal with geometry, you know, mathematics, numbers. But you see how they are using these symbols, not as per se a language per se, but the symbols are actually cracking the code of formulas. And that's what we're trying to tell our family. There's a formula to be decoded in certain symbols that we see, our group of symbols that are expressed. And we want to teach our people that language, because in that language, you can find abilities to be able to solve problems that will be able to aid and assist you and heal yourself and everything else. The Kabbalah compares to Yahoo, or YHVH, right? It says then that's tetragrammaton again. 4-letter word, that's all that means, tetragrammaton. It says to the primordial light in the course of the sun across the two horizons. It says the hieroglyph, which is again that YHVH, YHWH, is inscribed in the most sacred writings, as well as the name of Aten, which is a 4-letter word. But Aten, going back to the sun, they are saying this is connected to Yah. The symbol of Yahoo is found in the royal seal of the king of Hezekiah. I showed you the seal of Hezekiah where there's a dung beetle with wings on it, and then the inscriptions of what they call Paleo-Hebrew, which we know is really Egyptian written on. But they're referring to that seal here. I got that in the page. I showed that to the Moors before. The seal of Hezekiah in the form of the winged sun with 3 rays. And the winged sun is engraved on most of the temples of the Nile Valley, as we shall see in the second part of this trilogy. So they are going into many different measures in here, you know, and even breaking down certain other portions of the book, you know. So this right here gonna be a mean paradigm shift when it comes to those who think they're Hebrews. You know what I mean? So when we see the time where we say the Hyksos came in and enslaved the Kemites, you know, this was the time that the so-called Hebrews was being enslaved as well. So we really talking about one people. You see? They think of Hebrew, but Hebrew just mean to cross over from one region to another. So the word Israel, they find come from Asra. And Asra is going back to Asa. You see? So this is some of the things he put in here. He compared the Torah of Israel to the book of light here and showed the similarities here. I am the Lord who brought you out of Egypt. I am the Atum out of the Noon. You are unique, Amen. You are unique, Atan. I have not been greedy. I did not blaspheme God. We can see that this right here is dealing with the 42 laws, some of them anyway. Feast of the 7 day, 2 days, rest out of 10. The son who receives the word of his father will become old because of it. I did not kill. I did not command to kill. I did not have sex with married woman. I did not steal. I have not told lie. So this is after one, remember, has assessed themselves through a day. This is what we can say, I have not, I did not. But look over here in the comparison of what we read in here. Thou should make, not make other gods. Idolatry equals greed, right? See how it's being compared to the Kemetic form? I did not blaspheme God. See the greed? Thou should not call upon the name of Yahweh before me. That's a measure in the Piscean. Remember the day of the Sabbath to keep it holy. You see? It say, honor your father and your mother that your days may be prolonged. That's one of the things we teach mostly. Your nationality and your divine creed. You see what I'm saying? It say the son who receives the word of his father will become old because of it. So you see the comparison. Thou should not kill. I did not kill. Thou should not commit adultery. You know, I have not have sex with a married woman. Thou should not steal. I did not steal. Thou should not commit false witness. I have not told lies. Thou should not covet your neighbor's house. I have been rich only with my own property. You see this here? This is a good book here now. It's some powerful measures in here. It's showing the hymn to our moon and the great hymn to our 10, you know, connected to this. Same thing here, Morris Ken. When we go over here, this is what we was talking about earlier. Osiris, right? And Zohar Israel, right? Make me think about Zohar or Zar, right? Isra. I used to always teach, you know, to a lot of those who call themselves Hebrew, Israel. More of a question. Israel, you know what I mean? Is Ra of ancient Kemet the El of your whole testament? Islam, not just the Old Testament, but your whole testament. So Isra, and you can see the root to Asa. Our brother Mustafa Gedala referred to Asa as Asra, or Osra. You see, Isra, Osra. Israel, Jacob, son of God here, right? Son of God. The earth, Sarah, Isra, Egypt, land of Israel, makes waters of the Nile rise, the just 42 judges, makes waters of the Nile rise, the just 42 angels. You see, I mean, side by side. So you got to think of why we say all the time you can translate, you know, a lot of Kemetic messages out of that book, because they done went and remixed it. That's why I say the 5 books deal with what we call a legend. You know, what legend are they based on? So Islam, pardon myself, Morris Ken, briefly. And let me answer this call. It's an emergency, I believe. Okay, Islam, Morris Ken, can you hear me?
Islam.
Okay. Well, what we gonna do at this time, because we at that hour anyway, Morris Ken, I got an emergency situation I need to tend to. And we gonna bring this class to a close. But indeed, it's been a grand drawing, and our Morris Ken most definitely got it. So we know praise be to Allah. Everything is well. And just say gratitude, Morris, for all that it is that you have brought forth to the manifest. And we will be reaching out to our family, you know, so that we can get even grander measures. Islam. Praise be to Allah. All right, y'all can close us out, moves. Islam.
Islam. On about January 15, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by citizens trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure to obey my orders will be of severe consequences. We are for love, true peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive the reward for Allah for the unjust deed. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your car button, cease wear your turban, fez, and return to the state where the prophet found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Chapter 25, the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nation. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother hath given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all, and your love to each other. Peace. More meetings adjourned. And peace and love to all the Moors online. Islam.
Oh, great class, great class.
Great class. Islam.
Great class.
Islam, mighty Morris.
Great class. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Islam.